Exactly. And why are we losing the info war? Because the people who should be fighting this information war, let me bring up, I live in Nashville, Tennessee, which is a very religious town. You would think that the ministers in the churches would be all for bringing in Christians who are persecuted in Africa and Middle East. But no, what do? They say, oh, we need the Syrian refugees. We'll show how much we love them. We're going to cure this whole problem with love. So here we have ministers who don't know the Crusades from anything else telling us how to deal with Islam. Again, I do not blame the Muslims and Islam for winning. I blame us for losing. You understand the different viewpoint I have here?
Yes, sir, Doctor. And let me be clear. I'm somebody that a lot of the Muslims send countless emails and phone calls going, you used to be our friend, 5, 10 years ago. You exposed so much, and now you're against us. I'm not against anybody. But clearly, I didn't want to have the clash of civilizations. I didn't want to destabilize those regions. I didn't want to fund Saudi Arabia pushing Orthodox Islam that goes after everybody else, like they're heretics and kills them or enslaves them. I'm a friend to humans. But when my governments are allied with a bunch of radicals that turn women into slaves, and then they're telling me I've got to give up my speech, that's it. See, I'm into everybody having their rights. I'm an Americana. I'm an Orthodox Americana 1776er. I'm a classical true liberal in the vein of Thomas Jefferson. And when people come after my freedoms, it's over. And so don't worry, Doc. You've been helping win the info war or start some beachheads, and now the info war is on the job. So we see what you're saying, you're dead on, and we're taking action. And I think more people are starting to wake up to this too, aren't they?
Tell you what, I do very little work on the internet. I'm an old man. I'm 75 years old. I read books. You may have been familiar with books in your past.
Yes, sir.
But my wife has taught me how to read on the internet. She's my researcher. I basically live with an intelligence officer. She said, Bill, scan the article, read the comments. And what has happened, Alex, since 9/11 is that when I say we, the knowledgeable, those who actually know something about Islam, are beginning to dominate the comments. Our leaders are more corrupt and represent us less and less every day, but the grassroots, let me assure you, is beginning to wake up. All you have to do is read the comments. It used to be the word like hadith or sunnah were never heard in the comments. Now then it's very common for people to quote Islamic doctrine about the hijrah, doctrine about jihad, doctrine about everything. So we are winning at the grassroots level. Where we're losing is at the top.
That's right. But the globalists know when you start winning long term on the ground, that ends up going to the top of the pyramid later. That's why they're coming in with all these pushes for censorship, is because they know we're turning the tide.
And by the way, Alex, out of all of the things in the Bill of Rights, the most important is freedom of speech.
That's right.
Because once you lose freedom of speech, all those others about religion, press,
and Sharia law is, correct me if I'm wrong, diametrically opposed to the First Amendment, because it says Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion and approving the exercise thereof. That's the first line. Under Sharia law, it is state-run religion.
You got it. One of the biggest, one of the things when I first started learning about Islam was listening to Islamic leaders, and they would say jaw-dropping things, and I was like, you got to be kidding me, right? But remember the man who wanted to build the mosque at where the World Trade Towers went on? He said the Sharia and the Constitution are exactly the same document, while the Sharia is just an earlier form of the United States Constitution. You look at him and you go, what? Because nothing could be more contrary to our Constitution than Sharia law. Sharia law says that women are not equal to men. Sharia law, by the way, also goes ahead to say that Muslims can have weapons, but not kafirs, not unbelievers. So
by the way, speaking of kafirs, let's talk about Islam a little bit and its view of black people, because I don't know why so many black folks worship Islam, Muhammad Ali, you name it, when there's some stuff I don't want to repeat in the Muslim documents.
One of the great ironies is Muhammad Ali coming out and becoming a Muslim. Do you remember what his original name was? It was Cassius Clay. You knew who Cassius Clay was? An abolitionist, a white abolitionist who wanted to get rid of slavery. And so he adopts the name Muhammad and Ali. Muhammad was a slaveholder. Muhammad was a slave trader. He tortured slaves. He had sex slaves. He captured people and made them slaves. Every black man who came to America came through the hands of a Muslim trader in Africa. So here we have Muhammad Ali, who's now being praised as a really nice guy, but he did his leadership for the black community was disastrous, because he wanted to say to them, Christianity is the religion of the white man. Islam is the religion of the black man. Hello, are you sitting down, Alex? Because I'm getting ready to tell you something. Muhammad was called a white man in the Hadith. Which one is Muhammad? The white man leaning on his elbow. I saw the whiteness of Muhammad's belly on the day of the Battle of the Trench. The Hadith goes outside of its way to make sure to name the race of slaves and that Muhammad was white. So here we have, quote, Muhammad Ali bringing freedom to the black man in Europe by saying, no, we need to adopt the names of slave owners, Muhammad and Ali. Ali was Muhammad's second cousin and brother-in-law. No, I got that wrong. Son-in-law. And he was also a slaveholder. So here we have poor Muhammad Ali thinking he's doing black folks a favor when instead he's sealing with silence the fact that every Muhammad Ali's ancestors, Cassius Clay's ancestors, came through the hands of an Arab slave trader in Africa. So
I'd forgotten that. I'd forgotten that Cassius Clay was a famous abolitionist. That's true. Imagine, get rid of the name of a Christian abolitionist and somebody which died trying to free black people, and then you go name yourself after two different slave owners. I just can't make that up.
Not just slave owners, slave traders. We have on two different occasions Muhammad standing by while black.
No, I know. That's what went on in that part of the Middle East. That's historical. That's in the Quran. I just can't. That's what I mean. They've had these leftist TV shows and movies made about me where they just randomly have actors act like they're me or have other actors say, I got my news from Alex Jones, a homophobe that hates N-words and who hates all the Muslims. And it's just like weird leftist. What's that guy's name that did Mr. Show and all that, the big comedian? And it's just funny to them to just put these lies out about us when I want everybody to be free. I don't want anybody to be slave. I don't hate anybody.
By the way, let's deal with something here. If you're listening to me, now I have dealt with one Muslim, Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali, but I do not criticize him other than to say he's misled. What I talk about is Islam. I do very little or almost no talking about Muslims.
That's right. We're not demonizing the individuals. We're demonizing what they claim to have an allegiance to.
And by the way, what did I say about Muhammad Ali? He was misled. He was fooled. He was deceived. So we need to deal with the subject of Islam. Islam is the doctrine found in the Quran, the Sirah, and the Hadith. It's in 3 books. It's Allah and Muhammad. Unless you're dealing with Allah and Muhammad, you're not dealing with Islam. And so we do not need to bash Muslims. One of the ironic things is I'm called a Muslim basher. And it's like, no, I don't. I just tell you what Muhammad did and said. I do not even bash Muhammad. I simply say, here's what he did. Here's what he said. When I told you that story about Muhammad advising deceit, I didn't say that Muhammad was a bad man for doing that. I just said, he said, deceive him. So we don't need to bash people at all, as indeed the first victim of Islam is the Muslim. And by the way, I've met many Muslims who know almost nothing about Islam.
Oh, of course. Listen, I mean, I'll say it. Just because of Muslim friends I had in high school and college, I was prejudiced almost towards not telling the truth because I thought these are such nice people, this couldn't be possible. Well, those are the doctors and the scientists, and a lot of them are heretics, I'd say, not in their own minds, you know, that tried to get away from Islam and be free. I mean, a lot of these folks aren't like secret jihadis sneaking in, climbing over the barbed wire to get us. But now you go to these poor, trodden, falling apart Muslim countries, and they're bringing them in from here. These folks, just like you go into poor areas of the South, that's when you find all the trashy, stupid Klans people. And it's the same thing. You get around, you get these really trashy, anti-human, anti-woman, Orthodox Muslims, and they are just like from another planet. We interviewed one in Germany yesterday, my crew did. And he goes, I hate Germany, I hate these people, but everything's free and I'm staying. I'm jihading. And he's just this arrogant, like out in the open, I'm going to get you guy. They're just so, some of them are so honest about it.
Well, actually, they are quite honest about it because they know this. They're not going to be attacked or harmed. That is, they can say all these things and still pick up their welfare check. So, you know, they've learned that they can do and say anything they want to do and they'll get a free pass on it.
Well, sir, I want to invite you back up in the near future for a full hour and send me like a email with talking points. I don't normally do this with a lot of guests, but so we kind of do an educational presentation with some slides, some of your books, your materials, and then do a whole hour where we go through, say, A to B, C to D, all the way to Z, and because we're also TV, not just radio, so we can create an educational video on the 101 of what's happening. And is this a culture you want to live under? Because Orthodox Islam is always running around enslaving other Muslims and killing them to make them become more hardcore and more extreme. And so if you want to live under a bullying system where your wife and daughter can't drive cars, where their genitals are cut off, and where women are executed if their husbands feel like it, then you probably want to support Gloria Steinem because she supports these people.
And by the way, even in Islamic State, who is the most viciously attacked? Kafirs? No. The ones that are mostly killed are bad quality Muslims. They're Shia, or there's someone who's not observant enough.
Look at this headline. Every day it's 17 this day, 200 something that day. The latest, 200 plus women have their heads cut off on video, Muslim women, because they refuse to become sex slaves. They have to make them, quote, agree to it because they weren't good Muslims. We'll put that on screen. I mean, what type of freakazoid garbage is this?
Well, one of the things, here's the mark of a professional, Alex, and I think you've just illustrated the point. You can't make this stuff up. That means you're a professional when you study Islam, and this is serious. Everyone who knows a lot about Islam, like the fact you just quoted is like, what? What? How can you make this up? And you can't. 250 women in...
And that's just the one they pulled up from a few months ago. There's another one today here in my stack somewhere. And this was little girls they were killing. I mean, I read some story where 100 plus men raped a 6-year-old till she died. What type of whacked out loon people are these? I mean, they're crazy.
Well, I don't... that kind of suffering, it just disturbs me. But what also disturbs me is, where are the feminists on this issue? I want to know. They talk about a glass ceiling.
They're busy attacking you.
What?
They're busy attacking you and I.
I guess they are. But look, the suffering of women in the Middle East under Islam needs to be dealt with fairly. And if you're a real feminist, I think you would care for somebody who's being brutally, painfully tortured, even if they're not a member of America. So, I mean, look, I'm for women's rights for all women. And that's one of the objections I have to Islam.
Absolutely. Well, listen, Doctor, look forward to speaking to you again. PoliticalIslam.com, Dr. Bill Warner. I take the gloves off for any form of tyranny, whether it be the New World Order, communism, Orthodox Islam that is taking over whatever's left of Islam. And it's just all a plague on us all. It shows our ruling controllers are evil, absolute trash, or they're the most inept morons the planet's ever seen. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
We'll be back with the big Tim Kennedy premiere. He talks about the Second Amendment more and why he's joining InfoWars. I will be Skyping into the studios tonight during the multi-hour live coverage starting at 7 o'clock Central at Infowars.com/show. Therell be free feeds. The Nightly News, 7 o'clock Central, PrisonPlanet.tv. I want to thank PrisonPlanet.tv members. 20 people can use the membership each month for $5.95. But a lot of the times the feed goes free for everybody. But those of you that are members, we thank you for helping others get the information who are not aware of the broadcast or who can't afford it. PrisonPlanet.tv if you want to be a member. Briefly, be sure and sign up for Infowars.com/newsletter. You get exclusive videos, articles, also big discounts and promo codes, sometimes as much as 50% off products at InfoWarsStore.com. And don't forget, when you are at InfoWarsStore.com, you're not just getting a wide range of really useful, high-quality nutraceuticals, Patriot apparel, shortwave radios, non-GMO seeds, books, films, you name it. You're also funding the tip of the spear in the fight for human liberty. And you can get free shipping on orders of $50 or more, whether it's G-Shock watches or Survival Seed Vault or water filtration. And then you got promos on top of that, 10% off on the water filters with promo code WATER. And then you can get 10% off on top of that when you sign up for auto ship on different items that are things you reuse, like nutraceuticals and vitamins and other things like coffee. So shopping with the good guys is what helps us fund a true independent news organization. We have a new product, extra virgin olive oil loaded with pure oxygen and ozone, unprecedented. That is a limited time run, so take advantage of that, discounted out of the gates. But let's go ahead and go to this powerful report with Tim Kennedy.
I believe in dangerous freedom. I'll take dangerous freedom over peaceful slavery any day. The reason that I believe that is any other form of this construct of freedom can't materialize. It can't ever be substantial without risk. You know, the part about being a libertarian, the part about being and understanding what individual responsibility means, there is some